let's talk about the leak, if you will, of that docket. Is that something that potentially can help President Trump and his lawyers down the road? Is that something that they can maybe push to try to influence or even get this case kicked out of court altogether?
Absolutely. I think Fani Willis has obliterated the rule of law and the procedural rules required by our Constitution that are to ensure a fair trial and a fair process for the defendant. And this leak showing that they already had everything ready to go before the grand jury even considered what charges they wanted to bring, I think is just emblematic. It's the obvious conclusion that this was a foregone conclusion and it wasn't a true grand jury process. So I think it's a huge faux pas on the part of Fani Willis for her to claim that she's not an expert in clerk duties. Well, she's supposed to be an expert in district attorney duties because that's what she is. And it's the district attorney's office that was responsible for handling that document and ultimately handing it over to the clerk. So for her to play ignorant on this, either one, she's just completely out to lunch to make that claim, or two, she truly is ignorant, which is how we ended up with a ridiculous indictment.
You called it a faux pas. Is that faux pas enough to potentially cause a mistrial or get the case kicked out?
Well, it could be a procedural problem that, yeah, ultimately does have a dispositive impact on the case. It could, yes. Do I think a Fulton County judge is going to rule in favor of President Trump solely on that? You know, that's probably a heavy lift, but there are so many other procedural issues as well. Like we saw the earlier grand jury, buying popsicles and having ice cream parties. It would be a culmination of things, but I definitely think that is one aspect that absolutely will weigh in favor of the president.
The other curious part of this whole proceeding is that all 19 people charged here are charged with racketeering. Now, typically, a racketeering charge, as I understand it, and I only play a lawyer on the weekends, but as I understand it, this is basically a charge that's typically used for organized crime. We're talking mobsters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a bit of an absurd overreach on the part of Fani Willis. I think it goes further, the fact that she includes actions that took place in Arizona and Michigan and Pennsylvania. Now, remember, she's a district attorney of one county in one state, and she's going so far as to try to prosecute the president of the United States. During this entire event, he is the president of the United States in what his private discussions were in the Oval Office. Does she have jurisdiction over that? I mean, that raises questions of jurisdiction. It raises questions of venue, presidential privilege, executive. There's a lot of issues to be raised here. I mean, are we going to now allow random prosecutors in small counties who disagree with political positions of the president, the current president of the United States, to now indict them once they leave office? I mean, this opens a whole can of worms that I think is not constitutional, and that all needs to be vetted before they even get to the facts of this thing.